Viewers from all over the world, welcome to this CGTN live broadcast. I am Yang Shengxi, and I am now in Yongding County in China's southeastern province of Fujian. Why am I here? I'm bringing you to witness the magnificence, which is the Yongding Earth Building behind me. This is one of the Yongding Earth Buildings. What's your first impression? It is absolutely gigantic, right? So this Earth Building comes in circular shape. And there are two major sort of shapes for earth building. If you look across over there, there's going to be a square-shaped earth building. So a circular-shaped and square-shaped earth buildings are two major shapes of the earth buildings. And it's safe to say that the circular one is an upgrade version of the rectangular earth buildings. And I'll tell you the reason why in a second. But let's now walk a little bit closer to the earth building over there. And if you can see in front of us, there are persimmons. This is a distinctive local fruit. In Chinese, it's called shizi. This is a major produce for the local community. And autumn is a harvest season for all these persimmons. So the owner of the building placed hundreds of persimmons in front of the building, which says in Chinese character, Happy Mid-Autumn Festival. You know, yesterday was the Mid-Autumn Festival here in China. I know it's a bit overdue, but Happy Mid-Autumn Festival to all of you. Now let's walk closer to the building right there. Again, if you're seeing what I'm seeing now, this is absolutely magnificent, huge, huge building. You might wonder why it is called the Earth Building. So let's walk closer to see what it's made of. So guys, this is the material that made these buildings. Now legend has it that these are made with a combination of red sugar, egg whites, and sticky rice. But that has been a popular theory all over the internet for some time. And that turns out to be a rumor because if you think about it, sugar was quite difficult to come by in ancient times. It was very expensive in China and around the world. Only the richest of the rich can afford to eat sugar every day. So using them on the walls, impossible. So these are actually just mud from the rice fields nearby. So today there are 46 earth buildings around this area that became World Heritage Sites in 2008. So these buildings were built in China's Ming Dynasty, Qing Dynasty, but this one is relatively young. This one is called Zhengcheng Buildings. It was built in 1912, the exact year of the founding of the Republic of China, not to be confused with the People's Republic of China that was founded in 1949. So let's walk over there. You might wonder how expensive is this thing. I've interviewed the owner of the building who said when his grandfather invested in this building, it cost a modern day equivalent of 1.5 million US dollars. I'm assuming that it might cost even more today to build something like this. Let's take a walk inside, shall we? You can see there's a lot of tourists here for the spring, the Mid-Autumn Festival and the National Day Holiday Festival. Let's go inside. So here we are. We are inside the building. So this Earth Building has 208 rooms. At its peak, it houses 600 people. And if you look at the philosophy of how this place was built, it stressed a lot upon the idea of feng shui. And this place has very good feng shui. Now, feng shui is a very important notion for people in the south of China. Your home has to have good feng shui. Otherwise, it will haunt you for days and months and years and generations to come. So this place is actually built with the idea of I Ching. I assume that you are all familiar with the idea of Yin-yang. If you remember the Yin-yang sign, it's a perfect circle. And this building is a perfect circle. And it's built exactly like a Yin-yang sign. Let me get you some evidence of that. If we walk across over at the courtyard over there, you can see that there's a water well here. So this water well has an identical twin right across the courtyard over there. There's an identical water well there. So if you think about the Yin-yang sign, you remember the little black and white dots within the Yin-yang sign? These two are the dots. So this building is a perfect Yin-yang sign in itself. So this building was also built with a very communitarian idea. So all the 208 rooms here are of the exact same size. So no matter if you're elderly, no matter if you're young, you all live in exactly the same homes. So this idea was built on the idea that people rely upon each other and they don't distinguish themselves and they strive together in difficult times and thrive together in good times. And if you look at the architectural elements here, it's not only Chinese elements, there's also a lot of Western elements here. Look at the pillars. It reminds you of Greek architecture. And on the pillars writes the family teachings of this house. So this house has the family here, they all have the last name Lin. And these are their family teachings that stress upon the idea of filial piety, which means respect for the elderly and a care for the elderly. And also integrity and the idea of roots. So no matter how far you go, how many money you make in life, where you end up in the world, you always have to remember that your root is right here in this building for their descendants. So let's go inside. So I don't know if you can see this clearly. This is a picture of the person that designed this building. He is the uncle of the owner of the buildings today. That man studied in Japan, studied architecture. So when he came back to China, he became sort of an important politician back at the Republic of China. He was a senator at the ROC government. So if you look at a lot of these writings in yellow backgrounds, these writings were written by the then president of the ROC, Li Yuanhong. So apparently, the president obviously needed this guy's political support. So that's why he written these things for him. And if we walk over here, they are selling tobaccos. So tobacco has been a major industry for the local people here. People here pretty much know how to roll their own tobacco leaves. So tobacco industry was how the local people got their first bucket of gold back then. So they didn't have the seed to grow tobacco back in ancient times, but some of them managed to smuggle some of the seeds from countries like the Philippines back to China, back to this place, and grow tobacco and made their first fortune. That was how the founder of this place afforded to build this gigantic earth building. That's how a lot of people here afford to build their earth buildings. Let's take a deeper look inside. Let me talk a little bit more about the architecture here. Now, if you look up there, you can see that in this compartment, the handrail, the wood there, looks a little bit newer than other parts, than other compartments. And that was because that these woods were new. It was burned down in 1929. The whole compartment was burned down. But because there are bricks isolations between compartments, only this one compartment was burned down and the other parts of the building remained intact. So as you can imagine, fire safety is very important for a place like this because as you can see, there's only one entrance and there's apparently a lot of wood in this area. So fire safety is absolutely important. And as you can see over there, there's what we call Guanyin, a very important deity in the Buddhism religion. And during festival times, for example, the Spring Festival, Mid-Autumn Festival, locals here pay homage to the deity of Guanyin, and they burn incense to wish themselves a better future, a better year ahead. So let's walk across the hall right now. So you might ask what the rooms are for. in this building. So on the first floor of all the earth buildings, the first floors are always kitchens. So as you can see here, this is the kitchen of the one family that live in this section, in this compartment. So this is the first floor. So this is the kitchen. This is their dining room. So the first floor is always kitchen. The second floor is storage area for their farming goods and all their stocks. So let's go upstairs and see what the third floor and the fourth floors are like. That's because when this place became UNESCO World Heritage Site, 是完全掉线了是吗？So when this place became, 对。Hey guys, we're on the third floor right now, and on the third floor there are windows. There are no windows on the first and second floor. So let me fill you in with some of the histories of this place. This thing is built as a complete castle. It was built by a group of people who call themselves 客家, which means guest in the Chinese language. Why are they called guests? That's because of their history. These were the people who came from the northern China, what today is the Henan region. And because of war, because of famine, and a host of other reasons, they lost their homes. They didn't have a place to go. So they wandered south and settled in places like Guangdong, Jiangxi, and Fujian province. So when they settled here, they built these earth buildings to guard themselves against outside danger. There were a lot of thieves and wild animals in areas like this one, so they really needed these buildings to make themselves rely on each other to survive in those hostile environments, because they were a group of disenfranchised people. So no window on the first and second floor was purely out of defense reasons. So remember when I told you that the red one, the circular earth building, is an upgrade version upon the rectangular one? Because if you look outside, the red ones, the circular ones has no blind spot visually, so you can spot your enemy whenever possible. But in the rectangular ones, you cannot spot your enemies during the corners. So that's why the red one is so much better. And also the red one has better aerodynamics to guard against strong winds, so they are more structurally sound against natural disasters such as earthquake and typhoon, which happens a lot in this province. And now we're on the fourth floor, which is the top floor of this building. And if you look outside, it's an absolutely magnificent view to behold. I'll let that sink in for a minute or two, a second or two. So what you're seeing is the inner circle of the earth building. So this building has two circles. The outer circle are for the livings, and the inner circle are reserved for guests. People don't actually live there. The inhabitants don't actually live there. So when guests come, they live in the inner circle, where there's a performance stage, and the guests can watch from up top. So this building is called the Prince of Earth Building, and there's apparently a king of Earth Building just 5 kilometers from here that has 4 rings, and this only has 2 rings. So imagine how big that is. So let's sit down for a while and talk about earth buildings. So this place is actually pretty breezy. If you sit here, you don't need any air conditioning. It's quite warm in winter and cool in summer. So this just shows how the architectural wisdom of the Kejia people here. These are a group of people that speaks the Kejia language, which is very close to ancient Chinese language. So some say that these are the people that can directly talk to the ancient poets we have in our textbooks. And even though they were a group of disenfranchised people, they had no key social resources, but through sheer hard work, there emerged a lot of Kejia celebrities and famous politicians. And today, we have 120 million Kejia people, not only in China, but all around the world. We have a lot of them in Southeast Asia. We have a lot of them in the USA, Australia, and Canada. And I myself am part Kejia on my mother's side, and I have distant relatives in Indonesia. So even though I've never been here, I sort of hold a special emotional bond to this place. Let's take a walk for a while. So the owner of this building was among the first people who proposed that this place become a World Heritage Site. And at first he got a lot of hate, because if you apply to become a World Heritage Site, many illegal buildings have to be torn down, have to be demolished to fit the requirements. And a lot of indigenous people here sent death threats to him, so did all kinds of bad stuff. So, but now they thank him. He said they thank him now because we have a UNESCO World Heritage Site status here. So this place has become a major tourist attraction. A lot of people who work outside, who migrated to cities because there were no job opportunities here, are migrating back. So a lot of the earth buildings were abandoned, and now we are able to preserve these earth buildings because of the tourism industry. And many of them now work in restaurants and hotels here, which helps the local economy. And the owner of the building said two of his sons are back because of this. So even though this place becoming a tourist site has introduced a certain amount of commercialism, which have the inevitable generic shops around this area and things like that are not of local flavor, but it's one of the only ways, according to him, that we preserve the tradition, the Kejia tradition in this traditional community, and to keep this tradition alive for generations to come. And with that, we come to the conclusion of this live broadcast. I'm Yang Chengxi in Fujian Province, Yongding Earth Building, and I'll see you in the next one.